Good morning, everybody. This is September 22nd, 2022 Nonprofit Executive Leadership Roundtable, brought to you by Christine Deska and me. We've been doing this, like I say, for many, many years, and we have been doing the meetings on Zoom. And I didn't see so many new faces on the meeting today. So we're going to go around. We're going to have each person introduce themselves. About 15 to 30 seconds. I might be a little bit lenient, but we got to keep it moving because we do have a program to get to. So your name, your organization, what your focus is, and if anything specific you need, or maybe you have an event coming up that you just want to promote real quick that we can support or help out with. So I'm going to go to Alyssa Lewin, followed by Sean Slevin. We'll do it that way.
Good morning, everybody. Tommy, thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for all of this. My name is Alyssa Lewin. I'm the founder of Nancy's House. I'm talking really fast to try to hit the time mark. Nancy's House breaks the isolation and exhaustion that can come with caregiving. We run retreats, we have workshops online and in person, we have book clubs, we have support groups. But the big thing that is coming up right now is a conference on Saturday, November 5th. It's going to be Zoom. We're looking for people to buy tickets. It's for all family caregivers. Actually, everybody can benefit from it. There are going to be 6 wonderful workshops that you can pick 2 to attend. It's from 9 to 12:30. And I'm also looking for sponsors. We have sponsorships that go everywhere from $100 to $3,500 that help to fund our mission of providing retreats for family caregivers.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Do it.
Perfect. You did great. Vicki, that's a connection for you, right? Let's talk about that. But we're going to go to Sean and then we'll go to Vicki. But Sean, before you go, I want to mention one thing. When you have stuff like that, share those things in the chat, please. This is the meeting where we share, we sell, we not sell, but we promote what we have going on. So I want you to put it all out there. So we'll go to Sean, followed by Vicki Elner.
Good morning, everyone. Sean Slevin, Spin Strong Foundation. Thanks always to Tommy and this great forum. We are a not-for-profit that focuses on reducing unintended drowning and water-based accidents. We do that in the water by providing the actual swimming skills, out of the water by providing educational programming to schools and other organizations. We've helped teach more than 10,000 people the actual swimming skills, given over $1 million in free swim lessons to families that needed that, and now have taught Know Before You Go, our educational program, to over 15,500 school-age children thus far. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sean. So let's go to Vicki, followed by Brandy Watson, please.
Hi, good morning again, everybody. So I'm a nurse by background. I did most of my nursing with the special needs population, working for not-for-profits, BOCES and AHRC. I'm a founder of an organization I ran for about 20 years in Brooklyn, focused on senior issues. Right now, I sit on the board of directors of New York Statewide Senior Action Council, which is a 50-year-old organization. They just celebrated their anniversary. That is a voice for senior issues, and they have different hotlines, etc., patient right lines, and they're do strong advocacy. And I spend a lot of time doing advocacy and for funding, programming, etc. And so, Alyssa, we need to talk because family caregiver issue in a lot of areas of my life is important. And I'll just mention this briefly. I'm working on a program with Hewlett House. Jerry Barish is the founder and the executive director. And part of it is going to be, part of it is focusing on breast cancer in October Awareness Month, but breast cancer in the older women. So, I dabble in different areas and passionate about it. And so it was great to be here today, Tommy. Thanks you.
Thank you, Vicki. Thanks for being here. And there's always so much going on. It's difficult for all of us to compact it, right? Because we always have so many different things. Let's go Brandy Watson, followed by Robert Rosner.
Good morning, Tommy and Christine. Brandy Watson here, president of the Hempstead Community Land Trust here in the beautiful village of Hempstead, New York. Our organization provides home ownership opportunities to low to moderate income individual families, and we're looking forward to a bright future. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Thanks for being here. We're glad you're back in the mix with us, for sure. So we'll go to Robert Rosner, followed by John DiBiase.
Tommy, thank you for the invite. since I met you March of 2020. Others here on the Zoom call will appreciate you have enriched my life, and thank you. And this week when I got your email, Sherry, I couldn't wait to listen to you. I'm just briefly starting my career. I'm in my 52nd year as an independent life and disability broker. So I'm not in nonprofit. How I said it to the rabbi right before the holidays, and a healthy new year for where it's applicable. I don't really do the heavy volunteering of setting up the extra chairs or putting the books out. I'll put an extra 0 to the left of the decimal point, and that's my volunteerism. But I do work a lot with charitable gifting and in the special needs arena, and I'm just thankful for the invite, Tommy, and I love what you all do, and thank you for allowing me to come this morning.
Thank you, Robert. Robert, it's funny because he saw the topic and he said, I want to be there. So Sherry, so that's certainly a feather in your cap, as they say. All right,
The pressure's
Robert,
on.
the pressure's on. Pressure is on. So I said after that, it was going to be John DiBiase, and then we'll go to Amy Fleischer, please.
Hi, John DiBiase, former executive director of Anabic, and I currently sit on the board of Options for Community Service. I'm the treasurer. Quite by accident, I wasn't at the meeting when they elected me. And it's good to be back. It really is good to be back.
Deacon John, we're glad to see you back, man. I miss you. I know I missed our meeting in the backyard, but I promise I'll make the next one.
Okay. I just sent a message. I think it was to Vicky. I'm on my phone. I have trouble. Vicky, grief counseling is a big part of my ministry as a deacon. We should get together and at least touch base.
Good stuff. All right. If you send it to somebody else, well, maybe they can help too. All right. Let's go to Amy Fleischer and then Patricia McNeil, please. Amy, you're not on mute, but we do not hear you for some reason. Are you one of the phone numbers? Oh, hold on. Are you the 631 number? Oh man, maybe I screwed that up because it was so much feedback. I've muted it and now I hit ask to unmute. Amy, can you try calling back in?
You dropped our friend Amy, Tommy?
I see her and I see the phone numbers, but the phone numbers sometimes give me feedback, and if it's not linked to the person, it gets kind of funky. So all right, let's go to, I think Amy's, all right, Patricia McNeil. I promise, Amy, I love hearing your voice. I will come back to you. Patricia McNeil, followed by, just says in the box, Ala Mathematics.
Good morning. My name is Patricia McNeil. I'm a resident of the village of Hempstead, and I'm the vice president of Hempstead Community Land Trust. We at Community Land Trust, we're attacking housing through home ownership, which can lead to generational wealth. So that's our goal. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Let's go to Ala, and sir, introduce yourself if you could, just your name. If you want me to change the name, I can, but Ala Mathematics, followed by Jennifer Lowe.
How you guys doing today? My name is Ala Supreme Mathematics. I'm a chief and executive director of Youth Empowerment Institute, which is a cultural and performing arts organization here in Nassau County. We're bringing young people to the arena of cultural arts in terms of theater and theater performances. What we like to do is build a cultural performing arts theater here in the village of Hempstead. And basically that's what we're at. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize on the name situation. I thought maybe that was the name of the organization, but I'm glad you're here, and performing arts is critical. And I know we lose performing arts in certain districts around the island, so I'm glad to hear that that's something you're involved with. I will put my email address in here for everybody, so you make sure you can reach out to me. I said Jennifer after that, so you can reach out to me and we can connect because I want to hear more about these organizations. So Jennifer Lowe, followed by a new name that I've never seen before on our screen. So Will White, Jennifer Lowe, followed by Will White. Excited. Let's do it.
Can you hear me now? It's Amy Fleischer. Can you hear me now?
I can. So let's get Jennifer, Will, and then you're in, Amy. All right.
Gotcha.
Got it. Cool.
Good morning, everyone. Before I share a little bit about me, I just want to give a shout out. Amy Zislanski, we don't know each other, but the new logo is absolutely extraordinary. Huge fan of the work that the Book Fairies do. So bravo on the new logo and the new website. I've been in the nonprofit sector for 30 years. I'm currently looking for my new home. I am the vice chair of Mondays at Racine Cancer Care Foundation. I've served as a founding member of that board for 10 years. It's an organization that provides holistic and other wellness services for people, men and women, complementary services, folks who are undergoing treatment for cancer. And their beauty ball is back. It's a very significant event, October 24th, and it's at Crest Hollow Country Club. I'm also really excited to start doing some work as a volunteer for Canine Companions. So shout out to Canine Companions. And I mention them because on Saturday is their Dog Fest event, and that's at Massapequa Park. So anyone who has some free time on Saturday, come out to Dog Fest to support Canine Companions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for being so much in that really compact piece there. The beauty ball, the Dog Fest I got to talk to you about, because I have a second radio show called Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. And we had Warrior Ranch Foundation on the show yesterday, and they were talking about Canine Companions because my friend Eileen Shanahan, the executive director out there, is getting an award from Canine Companions. So can you please share this information in the chat, everybody, like about these events, the links and everything, because there's no way I could write it down fast enough. So if you can make sure that you put the links in for both those events, the Beauty Ball and the Dog Fest, because that's certainly relevant to me. So we're going to go to Will White, followed by Amy Fleischer.
My name is Will White. I am the director of Tampa Bay operations for the Little St. Nick Foundation. So I'm tuning in from sunny Florida. But our Little St. Nick Foundation was founded in East Rockaway, New York by Ray Muller. And our mission is to inspire kids in local areas to give back to kids in hospitals by providing anxiety relief programs. And our main focus is our anxiety relief gift bag. So I'm here just to, learn some more new stuff about nonprofits. I've been working for the company for about a year now. I'm just about to hit my year mark in 2 weeks. So I'm excited about that. But just excited to learn more and gain some more knowledge on nonprofits and how we can better grow our organization.
Will, thanks for being here, man. Thanks for, a young guy getting involved in nonprofit. We need more, certainly. We certainly need more young people going into this work. I know Ray, he's been on my program. Incredible story. If you don't know Little St. Nick, we got to figure that out. We got to, that's such a special organization. Inspiring story. I don't have time to tell it right now because that would be the whole meeting. So I'll pause. So I said you all moved around my screen, which is gonna make this game even more fun for me now. So Amy Fleischer, I wanted to go Amy to Amy. So let's do that. So Amy Fleischer to the aforementioned Amy Zislanski. But before you go, Amy Fleischer, I got a new Book Fairies t-shirt the other night. Just saying, only Ken Sereni and I'll just assume we're the only two that have that t-shirt just yet. So Amy Fleischer and then Amy Zislanski.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I'm on my Zoom on my computer. I'm on my phone. I don't know why you couldn't hear me, but my name is Amy Fleischer. I am the director. I'm the development officer of Long Island Select Healthcare. Tommy, I wanted to reach out to you. In a few weeks, I will no longer be the development officer of Long Island Select Healthcare. I will be the development officer at Long Island FQHC. So we are both federally qualified health centers, which means we treat the underserved. Lots of changes around here. Our COO, our CEO, they're all leaving. So I was fortunate enough to get asked to work at Long Island FQHC, and I'll be starting there in late October. We did have an event plan, Tommy. Thank you for being on the committee. It will be canceled now because we have no one here to be doing my job, unfortunately.
It was not my fault. I hope that wasn't my fault to be on the committee.
Yeah, no, with me leaving, there's no one to do it.
That's the easiest committee work I've done yet.
I was really, this is a wonderful place. It's bittersweet leaving, but I'm able to do the same thing. They have no development office. They've never raised a penny, just like here before I got here 2.5 years ago. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to start their development department. And I'll still be here, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on. I'm going to be I think I'm going to be scheduling like 6 months worth of social media posts for here, so it still keeps,
All right.
you know, in the public eye. But I don't think they're going to be hiring anyone for my position for a while until they get a CEO in.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for the update. Certainly, you can get your nonprofit updates here in the community. This is, not all of our friends here are from Long Island, excuse me, but we certainly do have a lot of Long Island connections. All right. So let's go to Amy Zislanski, followed by Ian Wilder.
Hey, thank you for having me. Christine and Tommy, it's always amazing when you guys host these. I was on with Sherry Goldman when she did her presentation last year. When I saw that she was presenting again, I had 3 years. Okay, third time. Well, maybe I missed the first one, but I gained a ton of information. I had a lot of notes written down, so I'm looking forward to it. I founded the Book Fairies, which is an organization that takes all of your books that you no longer need in your house, and we give them back out to under-resourced areas across Long Island and the 5 boroughs. We're at 3.5 million books donated, plus an international organization, international partnerships as well. Right now, we are actually in the process of looking for a new space. So if anybody knows of anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 square feet, somewhere in the Nassau County area, definitely reach out. Or if you have any kind of connections or know of any storage space, that is going to be our next big move.
Maybe you could move into Tommy's attic with him.
I do enjoy the train every time it passes by, and Serafina and I can read books together. I think that'll be all right.
Something that started out as a silly thing about me being in the attic. It's like if I leave the attic and people see me on the road, they're worried. They go, okay, why are you in general population here? Let's go to Ian Wilder. And then after that, Ian, you're good with, I know sometimes you have audio early in the morning. You're all set? You're good?
I'm good. I had some technical problems. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. So after Ian, we're going to go to Beth Buckheister.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Tommy and Christine. Haven't seen you in a while. Hey, I saw my friend Brandy somewhere in there. Hey, Brandy. Anyway, Ian Wilder. Well, I hope I didn't miss anybody. Ian Wilder, Executive Director, Long Island Housing Services. We have a simple mission. We eliminate housing discrimination so everyone can live their best life. That's simple. Towards that end, we are always looking for testers, kind of an upscale version of secret shoppers, to check out who's discriminating and who's not. If you want to see what that work is, just go to Newsstand, look us up. You will see our cases. They are reported regularly. Yes, we still have housing discrimination. We also have a gala coming up October 19th, honoring Mitch Pally. It's going to be a really great dinner with an ice cream bar at the end and lots of dancing and only 2 speakers, which if you've been to a gala, is nothing. So I believe everybody needs to party now. They don't need to hear people talk. We've done enough of this.
That's great.
Tommy.
You had me at ice cream, but then when you told me there wasn't going to be a lot of jibber jabber, I was like, oh, that's even better. That's good stuff. I love it. You should put that on the flyer. A little bit of talking, a lot of ice cream, a little bit of dancing. Ian, I'm watching you too, man. I'm seeing you doing a lot on social media. So it might fold into a little bit about our conversation today. I see you putting a lot out there, right? So
yeah, we have another campaign coming up. We could talk about it.
All right, we'll get into that for sure. So let's go to Beth. And then I have I think I've got everybody except there's a 917 number, which might just be somebody's phone number dialing in. But if it isn't, come off 917. Can you hear me? Come off mute if you're there. Let me ask to unmute. Beth, I'm going to have you introduce yourself in a second. I just want to see if that's somebody that we need to introduce as well. All right. Who is that there?
Hi, Tommy. It's Robin. How are you?
Robin. All right. Hang tight. It's Robin Canariato from Post-Tour Processing, who just so happens to be giving me an award later today. Beth Buckheister, followed by Robin. So, Robin, hang tight. Beth, take it away.
Good morning.
Beth, you're on mute. There you go.
Hi, everybody. I miss all of you. I'm sorry that I'm off camera.
Hello.
Patricia's saying hello, Tom.
Hey, Patricia. Oh, let me mute you. Go ahead, Beth. Beth and Robin.
Okay, thanks. So I have this really bad broken blood vessel in my eye. You do not want to see it. So my cartoon will be there representing me. But miss you all, Christine, Tommy, everybody. Tommy, did you get a haircut?
No, it's all in the back.
Oh,
Really.
your payas now fully go into the ponytail, huh?
Yes, they do.
So I have two things, if you'll allow me to talk about today. One is, of course, my Career Day Inc. program. Our mission is to inspire high school students through career choice awareness. The wonderful thing is that sometimes COVID had some things that are helpful. So the schools have a lot of funding this year, I'm finding. So we're able to bring our program to more and more schools. So my pitch today is for people to speak about their careers to high school students. I have two programs at Hicksville coming up in November and December, and perhaps some out east in Riverhead, and in the spring in Hauppauge and Central Islip. So really big programs. I need a lot of people to come and talk about their career trajectory, where they started, where they ended up. Amy, kudos on your new logo. It's really nice. Yeah, so Beth at careerdayinc.org. I'll put it in the chat. We will send you a very simple form to fill out, and then we'll let you know the dates, and you'll let us know your availability. But every career is welcome. This is a program for students of every academic level. Ian, thank you. I'll let you know about Riverhead. And yeah, that's my pitch about Career Day. And most of you know me, and those who don't, please look us up, careerdayinc.org. What I really want to just put a pitch in tonight for tonight's program, Tommy. We're having at North Shore Synagogue in Syosset a program on wrongful convictions. How do they happen? Why do they happen? And how do we stop them? There are so many people who've been wrongfully incarcerated and wrongfully convicted, and then years and years and years later, released from prison to resume a life that has been halted for, you know, really awful reasons. So our speakers tonight are going to be three attorneys, including Marty Tankless. Those of you who are a particular age remember the unfortunate story that Marty was convicted at 17 of killing his parents and exonerated in 1988, I think close to 20 years later. So he's now an attorney representing people who've gone through this. So it's at North Shore Synagogue on Muttontown Road in Syosset. And just reach out to me if you want more information. I'll put that, if it's okay, Tommy, in the chat.
Put it in the chat, please do. And I'll tell you, you know, when I saw it, I was so excited, and then I looked at the date and realized I couldn't be there. But that is a topic that is very important to me. A couple of organizations, Avenues for Justice out of Lower East Side, New York City, Angel Rodriguez, I've become close to their organization. And then a new organization that's become a friend of mine, friends of mine, Bobby Brown, she's the new executive director of Young New Yorkers, that has a restorative arts diversion program. So, you know, Beth, that's a topic of conversation I'm very interested in. And again, if I wasn't receiving an award from our next guest, Robin Kenriato, tonight, I would be at the synagogue. So Robin, why don't you tell us about post-tour processing?
Good morning, Tommy. Thank you for affording this opportunity for me to meet this wonderful group of people. I think what they're doing is just amazing. So I'm the president of Post-Tour Processing. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm a retired New York City police officer, former probation officer, and a fourth-year medical student, as you know, Tommy. Our mission in Post-Tour Processing is to help officers ameliorate their PTSD exposure because of the consequences it presents to them and to society. So we have developed a patented protocol, a virtual anonymous platform where law enforcement officers come in from across the nation, and they're able to, with trained facilitators, process out what they're exposed to daily. During COVID, we made our program available to all first responders, including physicians and nurses. And our program seems to have accolades from across the country. We're up to funding now. Thank you, Tommy. I'm very excited about our gala tonight at Russo's on the Bay, and really honored to be able to give you an award.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And I appreciate it. So listen, if you're on this call right now and you want to come to Russo's tonight, just send me a note and you come as my guest to Russo's, that event. So, so that is, here's the thing about that. We're going to get right into our session. So thank you, Robin. Thanks for being here. I know you have an appointment, so I'm glad you jumped on by phone. I'll tell you, you know, what I learned about that particular organization is that police officers and first responders, police specifically, see more trauma in a single tour, in a single shift, than the rest of us civilian folks see in a lifetime. In one tour, they'll see more trauma. How do you process that? And you really need outside engagement. So thank you, Robin, for what you're doing, and I'm happy to be a part of what this is all about. All right, we're ready now to move in. I don't think I've missed anybody. If I did, Christine, help me, and if not, Christine, somebody raise your hand. But I think even with the movement, I think we're good. All right, so let's get into this. So we've been doing these meetings now for a bunch of years. I say a bunch because that means I don't have to count. And I can't do this at all without my teammate, who has more than a decade of in-depth. I've been reading it more than a decade for a couple of years now. So it's got to be more than a decade and a half of in-depth experience in and for and with nonprofit organizations, foundations, and the government. At the Columbus Citizens Foundation, Christine was the director of programs from 2014 to 2016. And she spent a number of years at AARP, where she led initiatives around older adult hunger, financial security, and volunteer management. And in fact, it's a lot of Christine's relationships are the folks that we get to put in front of this group because of her reach and the scope that she has. I will, if you don't know, she and her partner, Frank Orzo, who is also a friend of ours, founded Nonprofit Sector Strategies, which is their company, which is a public benefit corporation that's dedicated to helping nonprofits in a couple of areas. Talk about strategic planning, talk about board management services, but specifically Bell's Board, which is a board portal that is set up for an organization that is either smaller or growing, or it's good for larger organizations too, but it's not a solution that makes it difficult financially for organizations to utilize. And I use it for the Nonprofit Resource Hub, and I use it because I sit on the board of Horseability as well. So I'm in and out of Bell's Board myself. So it is certainly for somebody who's not exactly super tech savvy, it is very manageable. The user experience is great. So without Christine, I couldn't do this because I have certain skill sets and she has certain skill sets, and you help each other out, you put that stuff together. Christine is the one who will be interviewing and speaking with Sherry Goldman. I'm going to read a little background on Sherry, and then I know Sherry's going to want to tell us about herself anyway. But Sherry Goldman is the founder and president of Goldman Come on, Tommy, let's try again. Goldman Communications Group, which is an award-winning public relations marketing communications agency that provides strategic counsel, public relations, and reputation management programs to nonprofits, corporate clients, and their leadership. Again, when we talk nonprofits, it's different. We are businesses, but we are different and we have different needs. I'm just going to read off some of these examples of the groups that Sherry's worked with: Writers Guild of America East, Workers Circle, the Kyra Fraschetti Foundation, Women in the Arts and Media Coalition, and the New York Credit Union Association. That's just really to name a few. I could have read a whole bunch more, but really, Sherry's been with us in this meeting in the past. The way we set this up is Christine and Sherry have they have a roadmap that they're going to go down, but by all means, take them off that roadmap if something specific comes up for you, and ask them those questions, and they will address that. So without further ado, Christine and Sherry, take it away, please.
Thank you so much, Tommy. Sherry, it's so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good to see you. I think last time I was here is when the pandemic first hit, and we were supposed to be in person, and you showed up in my living room, and I think the first Zoom, and life changed.
We didn't know we were giving each other germs, and meanwhile,
we did not know.
Safe in their own homes. It's just so nice to see everybody again on this Zoom. It just feels kind of like a rebirth almost of the group, with such great energy today. And Sherry's topic is just so timely always. I'm a big proponent of communications, and really all of us acknowledging the importance of how we communicate, really knowing our audience. And that's what Sherry lives and breathes. And she really has a passion for nonprofits and their missions, and really digging into that and making sure that those missions are heard, understood. And so that's what we're going to really dig into today. I'm really excited about this, and I'm glad that we can record these. I know there's a lot of people I talked to who just said they couldn't make it, but they want to hear. So it just goes to show you that I think more of us are really realizing that if we're not talking to our audiences in the way they want to receive a certain message, we're missing the boat. We're missing out on the impact that we could be having, and it all needs to tie together. So Sherry, did you want to add anything to Tommy's introduction? This is okay.
He did great.
Okay. Like Tommy said, we've been reading these bios. We probably all need to update our bios at this point, but we all know each other now. So thanks everybody for coming on, by the way. We also know how zoomed out we all are, and the competition that we all have for all of these different virtual opportunities. And so I'm glad we're bringing you really good resources and a really amazing expert this morning. So my first question for Sherry is, how do you advise nonprofits to translate their mission into something people understand? And I ask that because we've all been in board meetings for the first time where we feel like we're in a room of people speaking a different language. There's this kind of realm you go into when you're in the nonprofit space in a certain area. I was in the aging space for a number of years. You start speaking differently. And then you realize that the rest of the population isn't familiar with the vernacular you might be using. And so I really wanted Sherry to kind of talk about how can nonprofits make your missions more tangible when they communicate with your audience. So Sherry, can you talk a little bit about how you approach that with the organizations you work with?
Sure. Well, there's a few things to keep in mind. Number one is when you hear your missions in a board meeting or wherever, you know the context of your entire organization. So it makes sense. It's crystal clear. But if someone doesn't know your organization, they don't have that context that makes it sound clear. So most often mission statements are aspirational. They are gigantic in size. And the person listening to it, it's too philosophical. Or your mission sounds so huge, definitely worthwhile, but so huge that they feel whatever little piece they would do, donate, volunteer, wouldn't even begin to make a dent in your mission. That makes them feel a little helpless and probably not worth their time because everybody wants to make a difference. So if you can break down your mission into something that is more tangible, more real, more directed to the person or constituent you're talking to, they're more apt to understand it. Instead of, we're trying to combat literacy or combat world hunger. It just sounds so big. But we're in the hunger space and our goal every month is to feed 400 families in Astoria. That's something people can wrap their heads around. That sounds manageable. That sounds like if they could participate, they can see and make a real difference. People want to see a difference for their time, for their money. And especially so much has even changed in COVID, but the problem seems so huge that sometimes people just give up because they feel it's not going to matter.
Yeah, we are in jaded times for sure, for a variety of reasons. I wanted to ask, Sherry and I thought it would be neat if maybe two folks who are on the call right now could kind of share their mission pitch with us in this group setting, and then we could hear Sherry's feedback on how to kind of massage the way that the mission is presented. To Sherry's point, I mean, mission statements are aspirational for a reason, right? We all want to make sure we're staying true to the organization's mission, and the more sort of broad and vague and aspirational they're written, the more that you as a nonprofit have some leeway to really, explore more pathways to social impact. That said, when you're trying to really communicate that and maybe ask for dollars, you could end up with something that doesn't sound quite so tangible, something that is kind of confusing to someone who's hearing it for the first time. So would someone like to be brave and kind of
let me just jump in for 1 second. And that's a good point, because you're going to need your mission statement. So no one's taking your mission statement away from you. But when you go to communicate it, whether you're asking for volunteers or donors or corporate sponsors, that's when you can't use that mission statement, because that mission statement is too broad. That mission statement needs to be targeted to the audience you're doing. So break it down into manageable actions, manageable activities, manageable goals that matter to them. And you might have 3 or 4 different versions of it depending on who you're talking to. It doesn't have to be one thing, like one mission statement fits all. It doesn't. So you can have your aspirational mission statement, but you can then have different messages that you're using for your outreach.
Wonderful. All right, Alyssa, thank you. If you want to come off mute, we'd love to hear yours.
Sorry, took a minute to unmute. So Sherry, first of all, thank you. I was listening to what you said and I think we hit the mark, but I would really like feedback. The statement that we make to people is Nancy's house combats the isolation and exhaustion, breaks the isolation and exhaustion that can come with taking care of someone who is chronically ill or disabled. That's our one sentence statement.
My gut would say to you, what does break the exhaustion even mean? Does that mean give somebody sleep?
Yes.
Does that mean come? So be specific. You know,
so
Nancy's
so the
house
second half
works with caregivers to help them combat isolation and other issues when they're dealing with chronic ill. Don't use buzzwords. Be specific, because combat exhaustion means, I don't know, get a nap, and it may be, but you do so much. Sounds like you do so much more.
Okay, so the second statement then is we have 1 and 3 day respite retreats, workshops, in-person workshops, online workshops, support groups, right? So but does that tell people what
do that? I mean, we do that through a number of programs, and their counseling and one-on-one and support groups and workshop. Talk directly to the person who's hearing it. Don't talk here, talk here. I know
So what is the service I give you? Right? So it's what is the service I give you? Not here's the program, but what's the service? Got it.
What's your goal? What are you helping that person do? You are working to, Nancy's house works directly with caregivers to deal with the issues, mental and physical, that they have dealing with caregivers. How you do that, that may not be part of your mission. When someone says, how do you do that? We do that by offering a number of programs, and you can list That way everybody will understand it. And when you're asking somebody for donations or support, they get it, and they could actually get into a program instead of this big, oh my God. And if you want to drill down further, you can say, each year we help 500 people or 5,000 people, or we're doing it in the community. There's ways to even drill down deeper if you need to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. When Sherry and I were prepping for this, we talked about getting a statement together that could say, if you donate X, this is your impact, right? How can we get to that point at each of our organizations to be able to tell a potential donor, look, if you are able to contribute this, here's what that leads to in terms of community impact. Sherry, do you want to say more about that? Or
well, I think that goes back to what I initially said is people want to know that if they're good, they're still, listen, first of all, every nonprofit is phenomenal. Everybody's got a great mission and does great work. And how do people choose to support an organization? Maybe by somebody they know, maybe because it's a cause that's dear to their heart, or their family or their friends have gone through. But there's also a lot of other people you want to get involved, and they want to know that they're making an impact. They want to know that their $100 or their 5 hours of time or whatever is going to make a difference. And you can say it is, but if you can demonstrate, for 3 hours of time this week donation, we're going to be able to pack up 500 backpacks and give 500 kids new school supplies to go to school so they'll be set for the year. They get their head around that. They can see that. They can count that. They know that. They feel like they're making a difference. It goes back to even when UNICEF, when we were all kids back then, if you gave 5 cents, you fed a kid for whatever. I mean, it's how some of the organizations, St. Jude's, make it tangible. And the other thing to make tangible is what you actually do. In other words, have you collected 10,000 diapers over the year, which would fill 32 football fields, and kept every baby on Long Island in diapers for a week. Make it so people can understand context, so they understand how their participation is going to make a difference. If they understand that, they're going to feel good about it and they're more apt to do it.
Absolutely. Hey, Sean, would you like to come off mute? I want to dig into your question a little bit more because I think there is something to kind of unpack regarding, how Sherry was explaining. Of course, your mission statement remains solid and core to what you do, but it's really about massaging that and making that its own statement depending on who you're talking to, what your goals are and your pitch. So, but say more about your question in the chat.
So we've been doing a lot of outreach, particularly around the education piece of our work now, because we're trying to build public-private partnerships in funding so we can deliver our programs to schools at nominal, if any, fees.
Can you remind me again what you do, Sean? I'm sorry, I got everybody at the beginning, but I'm not as familiar.
Oh, of course. So Swim Strong, our mission is to reduce unintended drowning and prevent water-based accidents. And we do that in two traditional ways. Well, one traditional way, being in the water and teaching the actual swimming skills. And we've taught 10,000 people those skills and given over $1 million in free swim lessons to support families that needed that help. The more current project that we're invested in is providing education to schools and organizations about water safety, not in a swim/recreational point of view, but in a daily life point of view, water in our daily lives. And so our programming is quite different. And so therefore we need to even challenge the way people are thinking about water safety, because that is the natural fallback, is to think swimming lessons and recreation. And we're saying no, water in our homes, water everywhere we need it, water from a seasonal point of view, water from now a wild weather point of view as it relates to climate change, because all of us are going to be impacted if we haven't already been impacted by that. So
my initial gut would say that water safety is not the right word for you to use, because you're not going to change how people understand what water safety is. Okay, so water safety, what we know and still is safety in pools and oceans, and that's water safety. So you're not talking water safety. You may be talking how to deal with water challenges. You maybe talk about problems that water in a home environment can cause, but that's not water safety. It may dovetail with what you know is water safety, which is why you're pulling it in to do it, and it's right for your organization, but you need to communicate it differently, because you're not going to change what people know water safety to be.
I appreciate that feedback.
It's interesting, right? Because what I learned a while ago from when we had a consultant come into AARP is that we could have the most crisp messaging and it could be accurate in its own right. But if the messenger receiving it is not getting what we intend them to get with that message, are we really doing what we want to do, right? So
it's all how people hear it, and people hear it in two things. They hear it based upon their context, their knowledge, their life, and they hear about it most importantly, and it's what's in it for me. Why should I care? Which is why certain people tune out certain things so they don't hear it the same way. The same way people legislatively can hear, we're thinking of putting gun legislation in, and some people hear it one way and some people hear it another way. And all we said was we're thinking of, because you hear it from based upon your values, your perception, your context, and what's in it for me, what does it mean for me? So that's why missions are great, but they're not heard that way. And they're kind of general. It's the same way corporations do elevator pitches. And if you hear any lawyers or anything, we're in good client service. If you closed your eyes, everybody has the same 30-second elevator pitch and you have no idea what they do, because it's not how people hear and it's not what they matter. So don't change the perception of the word. You've got to say, change what it is. It works for you because they both deal with water. That's great. Maybe somewhere down the road, you'll want to have even a bigger overarching mission with 2 pillars, but don't kind of force that into what that is, because people are going, I don't have a pool. you know.
You're correct. And we've tried a couple of different approaches in certain campaigns. One of them being, broaden your understanding of water safety, which then may get people to think, oh, what is she talking about? And then you read on. But I agree that it's very much a work in progress.
Yeah, don't even go to water safety, because certainly climate change, flooding, all of that has nothing to do with water safety. Water safety in a home is basically don't drown in a bathtub or don't drown in a swimming pool if you have it in the backyard. That's about what water safety is at home. It's not when Hurricane Ida came in my apartment building last year in the front bedroom on the 10th floor. That was not when the flood came in on the 10th floor last year. I would not think of that as water safety, but it was there.
Thank you so much, Sean. You always get the honest feedback from Sherry, because she wants these messages to come across the way that will be engaging, the way that's going to drive people to understand your mission, right?
Thanks, Christine. I feel bad critiquing, so thank you for saying that. I don't need to.
That's why I said we need brave folks, because look, I was at AARP using the words food insecurity, and I looked in the mirror one day or around a room, and I thought, who even speaks like this? People are hungry, people are struggling to afford food, right? How do we get into this realm of speaking in a way that kind of isolates other groups or the public at large that we're trying to engage? So let's dig in a little bit more to the different audiences that we speak to as nonprofit organizations. Can you just talk a little bit about, we should all be constantly thinking as we're going through our days and our organizations and our goals. Let's talk about some of the audiences and the different ways we might want to tweak the way that we communicate, just so we kind of can stop for a moment and think, are we speaking to all of our audiences in the same way? And could that be why we're not advancing in our missions or growing quite as effectively? I think that we could fall back on that.
It's a piece of that. I mean, donors are not the same as people, or prospective donors, the people who you want to volunteer time. It's a totally different thing about making a difference. Certainly, if you're pitching a corporation, that's a very different thing. If you're pitching media, that's a different thing. But you could break it down further. All volunteers are not the same. High school students are going to pitch blood, sweat, and tears versus somebody who might be a baby boomer. I mean, you really have to look at geographically where they are, but what we call psychographically, what matters and values to them. And again, because everybody hears what's in it for me, you have to target them. 5 hours of your time will help us do X, Y, and Z. Is very different than we're running our national campaign and we need to raise money. So we could raise $1 million that's going to help our organization continue and do Y.
Mm-hmm. I hope that helps everybody kind of, think about how you're speaking to your different audiences, because especially for those of you who do not have a communication staff person yet, don't have that capacity in place yet. I mean, this is the content creation aspect of what we do, the messaging aspect. There's a reason why people study communications and really know PR like Sherry does, because it's time consuming and it takes effort. And we understand that sometimes you have to really prioritize your audiences and think about who do you have the energy as an organization to really communicate with effectively, and maybe start there. So to hopefully, you don't think you have to tackle everything at once, but really thinking about, here's why maybe this message didn't resonate. Maybe a message went out and it wasn't really tailored to that particular audience. If it was a corporation pitch you were doing that didn't go so well, or maybe something did go really well, and now you're thinking, aha, this is why it was worth putting the time in to really make sure I was speaking to that audience and thinking about what they wanted out of the conversation, what they wanted out of the relationship.
And I should say that means that's a lot more work, because a lot of times we have one brochure, we have one set of content, and we just think it's going to work for everyone. And it doesn't. Even when you talk content creation, something that you might post on Instagram is going to reach 20-somethings, okay? And 50-somethings are not on Instagram. They might be on Facebook, and you're not reaching anyone under 30 years on Facebook. They're just not there. Because that's where old people go, according to my nieces. LinkedIn is one thing, but LinkedIn is also different, because LinkedIn is a B2B platform. You're reaching people when they're at work in a different concept. You can't raise money. So one set of content, one set of social media doesn't work for everyone. it does mean from a communication standpoint, you might need 6 different campaigns at the same time to do the same thing. A pain in the neck, I know, but will be more effective.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry. So let's shift to talking a little bit about media coverage. We were thinking about asking for some brave souls to share on this topic as well, possibly some successes and some cool media attention you've been able to garner and maybe how. So have that in the back of your minds, because I think we all learn so much from each other. But of course, this is Sherry's bread and butter. It certainly was, right? For the first many years of your company, right? That's you have this in your head always, right? How can we engage the media? Oh, Ian's already raised his hand, so he wants to share.
I saw that he's brave.
Sherry, would you like to share some best practices first, or should we have Ian?
I'll do best practices first, then Ian can jump in. Okay, so yeah, media publicity is obviously bread and butter for most public relations programs. Everybody wants the media to tell their story. But media's job is not necessarily to tell your story unless their job is to tell a story that matters to their audiences. They are your gatekeeper, okay? So they are the gatekeeper to their audiences. So their job is to sell newspapers, sell ads on TV news programs, sell advertising. So how do you get them to be it? 2 things. You need to have a story that's happening that matters to their audience, okay? And it has to be timely. They care that it's timely. They care that it's relative. So if, for example, you're pitching, well, obviously Newsday, Newsday is not necessarily going to write an article about your organization, but certainly if you are doing something, not a gala, but perhaps a big community event where you're telling them 500 people are coming out and they will get to see something visually that will matter in the community and what your impact has been, they may be more apt to. Don't overlook weekly newspapers. If you've got something in Glen Cove, the Glen Cove Record Pilot is a great place for you to pitch. I think everybody says, I want to be in the New York Times, but be where your constituents are, your audiences. The Glen Cove Record Pilot is more apt to come out and do something very small if you're doing it in a school or a park. If it's in Glen Cove, or if you're a board president or someone is from there, they're looking for that local angle. What is it? So always look at that. They're not apt to tell your story as we're having a national we're having our annual fundraising gala next month. That's not their job. They'll tell you to take out an ad, although you could always look online for calendar listings and see if you could post it in. Their job is to tell a story that matters to their readers. So if you can figure out how the angle is that makes it timely, newsworthy, find any news hook you possibly can, because otherwise you're what's called evergreen, which means they could do it 365 days a year, although you want it done today. There's no reason the story has to be done today versus 3 weeks from now. But if it were, now there is probably a National Water Safety Week. So if, Alyssa, you could find National Water Safety Week 4 weeks before you start calling the media and telling them 4 weeks from now, it's National Water Safety Week. We are a water safety organization. Here's 3 programs we're doing it. Or they also like tips. I could have somebody talk to you about 10 tips people can do to stay safe in the water and time that for National Water Safety Week. That gives them a timely story. It's got a local angle because you're a local organization, and it's educational. They might be apt to do that.
That's really helpful, Sherry. I think sometimes we struggle with how much to package a pitch and how much we expect from the media outlet. Do you want to say any more?
No, you have to package everything. They want to know what the context is, who they're interviewing, and why. If you're pitching broadcast, they're going to want to know what 2 to 3 visuals they're going to see is. They'll give them everything. They'll then vet it. And by the way, the first thing they're going to do is go to your website or go to your social media and see if you're legit and timely, because they do get a lot of inflated pitches, I'll call it that way. So make sure that your website and your social media is timely. If they go to your website and everything there is 3.5 years old, because I know it's not the thing you update consistently, you're not looking as current.
Right. It all ties together.
And don't be afraid if they go, we're going to do this, but we're going to also interview 2 other people. They may not do a story just on your organization. That's okay. If you're included in a bigger story, a trend, an issue story, you're there. That actually elevates you in some ways, your reputation as a thought leader. So you're not going to own it, but be a part of it.
Wonderful. Okay, now let's see. Let's go over to Ian. Would you like to share? You got some good press recently. Tell us.
Recently, regularly, yes. My first advice is realize these are human beings. We had somebody do similar work to us in New York City just contact me and go, can you give us your text? And I was like, no, you don't understand. It's personal relationships.
You broke up a little there, Ian. What did the person say? Can you give us your what?
Press contacts. Can you just give us your press contacts?
No.
And so I wrote them an email explaining to them how this works. I said, start with, you're in New York City. You don't want my Long Island press contacts. You want your local press contacts, what Sherry was saying. But the thing is, you have to realize reporters are people. You have to treat them like people. You have to talk to them, about their day besides what they're doing. And you should feed them stories that's in your subject matter area that you know about, but necessarily isn't about you. And we've gotten quotes every time we've done that. There have been settlements that HUD has had that haven't been our cases, that have been on Long Island, and we send them out to Newsday. The reporters love it because I just gave them a story they didn't know about. And guess what happens? They call me and ask me for a quote because I'm a lot easier to get than HUD is. So we end up with a press hit in a story that has nothing to do with us, and we just did them a favor. And because we develop personal relationships, when the reporter changes beat, they do a warm handoff to the next reporter because now we've become a source for them. And I will tell you, I use American Towns and I do blanket send out of press, which is a cute thing. If you dig down in American Towns, they have all the emails for all the press on Long Island. And you can drop in a press release and they'll send it. But I don't think we ever really get anything from that. The stuff we get from is personal relationships. One other example is regularly get in the real estate column of a business publication, and the spouse of that reporter is a donor of ours. And she has made clear that he better cover us. And it's also been good for him. We're a good source. Our stories are settlements with housing providers who are on his beat. It's called American Towns. It's very hard to get through. You have to set up an account, then say you want to post something, then ask you if you want a press release, and they will send it out. They don't give you the emails, but they have the emails for, I don't know, 40 different publications around your zip code for a 40-mile range. But I'll tell you, I don't think we ever get published from that stuff.
Well, first of all, a press release has to be news. So it depends upon if you're not announcing news that picked up, you can make that list yourself. I mean, there are other services like PR Web and PR Newswire that you can pay to distribute. I think the key is, reading resource is great, is if you're trying to do something for your organization, how do you identify what is news? Because media is going to cover news. If you could be a resource like you are, when those cases come up, that's phenomenal. I don't know that everyone's going to have that ability, but in that case, the relationships and being a resource and positioning yourself so that when they do know that something's happening, if there's a drowning, if there's a case, they may think to call you. And then, of course, the key is to be available on like 30 seconds notice, but which is good.
Yeah, which is true. I have priorities. If we get called by elected officials, by judges, or by reporters, and that's CBS, not a reporter, so I don't care. It is an immediate callback. I drop everything. Sometimes I'll be at home on daddy duty, and I'll tell my wife, Newsday's calling. Can you just take Jacqueline? And my wife understands. She knows how the media works. Same thing. You need to understand how the media works. We're talking about a press release. You have to understand that they do something called the inverted pyramid. If you read an article, they do the most important piece of information at the top, And often it doesn't even have all the information, but it has the most important, and it spreads out from there. They're used to seeing it like that. Read news articles, understand how they expect press releases to be and what they want in it. We usually give them one quote, we give them a lot of facts, and we give them background explanation of technical terms in there, so they don't have to do a lot of work.
There's something to be said for that. Thank you so much for sharing, Ian. We've heard over the years, you know, in our more fast-paced society, it shouldn't be surprising to us that reporters and media are looking to do a little less, and they're expected to do more with less. And we know that many of these outlets are at a capacity strain, like all of our organizations tend to be as well. Is there somebody else that wants to share about media that they have been featured in recently? Any hands? I don't see.
Christine, while Ian's still up on the hot seat, Sean asked what was the resource that Ian mentioned.
Oh, he mentioned it.
Oh, is that it? Is it AmericanTown.com, Ian?
Yeah.
Okay, you just shared it.
Let me fix it. Actually, it's
back to you.
No, thanks, Tommy. Yeah, I think the point Ian was making, though, is that while that may be a good way to get your message to many different outlets, it's not as fruitful as relationship building, which he's been able to do with different outlets by being a resource and sort of a subject matter expert, which a lot of you have the potential to be or are already in your areas for sure. But before we move forward, anyone else want to share any press, any features? Amy Z, I know you guys are in the news. Are you being shy? Did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Not to put you on the spot.
You know, it's actually kind of funny because I don't have that much to share at this point. And the nice reason is because we have an executive director who is really running the organization at this point. And so I've taken that step back. So I don't have as much to add, but I do agree that it is all personal relationships and not the cold reach out, and coming up with whatever you are doing and making sure that it is tied directly into what's current in the news, such as for us, it would be doing a back to school, you know, in September, reaching out to people. Back to school is coming up, and we can talk about the lack of books that are in the community and how we are a resource to increase book access as teachers are going back to school. So we really do try and tie it into whatever the current hot topic is that's in the news, or banned books, and reaching out to the press regarding the banned books.
That is a hot topic.
I just want everybody to know, while it's great to have those relationships, there's no question, if you've got a good story and your story is timely and local and important, you don't need that relationship. You just have to find the right editor there. They will cover that story. They want to cover a story that's local. They want to cover something that's news. They want to cover a story or book a guest for something that matters to their audience, not because you want to reach their audience, not because you're based on Long Island, but you think people in Manhattan have a lot of money, so you want them to donate your organization and you call New York One News. That's not their audience. What are you doing in Brooklyn? If you're doing something in Brooklyn, you're in their community, then their Brooklyn reporter might be apt to cover the story. So you always have to think about who you're reaching. So don't be intimidated if you don't have contacts or relationships. You've got a story. There's a way to tell it. Just make it local and make it timely, and find the right and who the audience is, and then they will tell that story. And the more that you can visually demonstrate it with a photo, or certainly if you're pitching broadcasts, the better. They want to see things, make it tangible.
Great. And it's something that sticks in my mind, which is why I thought of Amy, is when they did their line of books and they were getting attention around their Guinness Book of World Records effort, I think it was. Yes. That those sort of images really do stay with people, and it's very tangible. And all of us don't have maybe the platter to put a book on like Amy does with her organization, but there is that opportunity in your own way related to your own mission, right? How we all can do that visually. So let's shift to talking about how we're all looking for these different sorts of partnerships with companies as we grow our nonprofits. Sherry talks a lot about kind of the new ways that companies are looking to work with nonprofits and the new world of sponsorships, which has changed quite a bit over the years. So Sherry, can you just talk to us about maybe some of the ways nonprofits have in the past gone to companies with sponsorship opportunities that might not have been so effective, and how we can kind of change those conversations now to really strike up relationships and make sure that companies are getting what they're looking for out of it as well.
Okay, and certainly corporations represent a good chunk of money, so we want them to donate, and there are no bad organizations to support, but corporations can't support every organization. I mean, they could do dollar match for their people and that kind of thing. Corporations, when I evaluate sponsorships from their side, want to own something. They want to get into a partnership with a nonprofit that they can then report to their board, their customers, their constituents, that we are doing this program. That falls into the ESG, that falls into their annual report, that helps them show they're a good corporate citizen. So finding, number one, a match between who their customers are, what industry they are in, and what you are doing is good. Certainly if you find, like I know Book Fairies did with Ken Cerini, they were lucky enough to find a person who had a passion and did that, but that's tough. But if you can find that, the better. And then from a company standpoint, they want to own a program, have something. So you'll go to them and say, give something, we'll slap your logo on it. That logo is not going to help them. They can't promote that they're supporting an organization and doing a logo. That doesn't mean they won't give you a little money, but it means it's not a sponsorship or a partnership that's going to grow. Okay. So tell them for what they do, what they can quote unquote own. And that's everything from, even if you're doing a gala dinner, can they own an award that you're giving out? And it becomes their branded award. They help pick it. Their CEO gets to give it. So suddenly they have recognition they can promote. And then what are you going to do to promote them? Are you putting them in the program? Are you doing 3 social media posts for them? Are you putting them in your press release? They want to know what value add they're getting. Maybe you do 6 programs and you can give them a program, give them something to carve out so they're not one of 17 corporate logos, because they can't feel good about it. They can't own it. They can't promote it to their audiences, their board, their customers. If you give them something that they can own and promote it, you stand a good chance of having them grow with you, because that becomes part of their corporate social responsibility and the fabric of who they are. So it's tough because you want to go. So let's say you are Habitat for Humanities. Maybe a good target is MDC Tools, because they make all the manufacturing and tools. You know, that may be someone you hit, and maybe they can donate all the equipment and do something else, and you could build 3 houses together. And that's something they can own, promote, and work together, instead of saying, you know, buy a table at our gala and have people come and we'll put your logo, you know, buy an ad in our thing. Not that they won't do it, but that's not growable and that's not sustainable. And in this world, they have to prove what they need. So get your ducks in a row before. So when you go in, you're gonna have to do your homework on the company. You're gonna have to do your homework on who their audience is, perhaps who their president is. I mean, certainly if you find out their president has prostate cancer and you're the National Prostate Cancer Foundation, go in. But otherwise, you know, Hair Club for Men is not sponsoring breast cancer or vice versa. You know, it's so find out, do your homework ahead of time, and then put that package together of what you're going to give them and what they're going to get if you work together, and place a dollar value on that, or work out a dollar value.
Thank you, Sherry. So many good learnings there. And Sean has her hand up. Sean, do you have a question?
I do, Sherry. Thank you for that. I mean, one of the things that we struggle with as an organization that is highly skilled focused is that not many people can participate, to your point about ownership. For example, in teaching, swimming skills. Right? Not only do they have to be able to swim, but we have a particular way in which we teach. So they'd have to be familiar with that and have a very high level of skill. So that's not easy for people to jump in and get involved with. And then the other side of our work is the educational programming, which really teachers are delivering in schools, or if it's an after-school program or a camp or even a business, somebody is facilitating a program. So there's less opportunity.
They don't have to own getting involved, but can you create a program for them? I mean, perhaps a good target for you is a pool company or a water company, and that's it. And maybe they help co-brand an education program with you. So you're implementing it, but they co-brand that education program. And you actually say, we are creating this new curriculum thanks to XYZ Pools who help get generous donation, and it's together. So they don't have to volunteer. That might have been the Habitat Humanity, which kind of, threw you a little bit, or it was probably not the right thing, but they want to own something.
But we have corporations kind of asking that of us too. We'd like our employees to get involved, and I get it. That continues to deepen and build the relationship, but we're just so narrowly focused in what we do. It's hard to.
Well, what can you craft that they can get involved? So maybe can they get involved in a National Swim Day? Can you get involved in? Can you create a day that they can get involved with? Can they go with you to schools and help be a support? Can you create a national beach thing? You may have to be creative and think about, they want their employees. This is part of what they need to do. Yeah. So if you want their support, you're going to have to craft with them.
Sure.
Great question. Good brainstorming, because it's really about having these meaningful conversations with companies after you've done your homework to really find out what makes them tick. What are they looking to get out of this relationship as well? It's a two-way street. Nonprofits have so much to offer. The impact is huge, and companies should be so lucky to align themselves with your missions, right?
And they want to be, but listen, they've got 100 employees. 100 employees are going there, and we gave to our favorite charity and they have a match. Could you give that, corporate match, everything from your college to the American Cancer Society. The first thing they check is, does your company have an employee match? So they're getting hit by money and they're writing those checks, but they're not meaningful for them, and they're not going to grow. And those are the easy things to fall by the wayside, and they're not marketable. So find something that you can craft so that you can develop the Book Fairies Serenity Partnership Program.
Christine, can we just call out Amy on this? Because I sent you a note in the chat. Can we just put her on the spot? Because that was I don't want it to be, that was no strike of luck. That was courting. That was, I'm bringing Amy back to the stage here. I'm sort of in charge.
She hunted that poor man down.
Yeah, so let's get you, now I just replaced everybody. You're on stage. I will give you back some friends on stage, Amy, but talk of, there's a book, there's a whole story. Can you give us the 90-second version of that story, how that happened with Ken Serini and what the program is?
Yes. So basically what the program is that for every billable hour that Serini and Associates bills out, they are able to donate one book to a kid in need. And so they're able to tie in their profit with purpose. And so that's a whole model as to how can you go out and find a company in a specific sector. And that's the way that they're able to stand out, because everybody does accounting. And everybody is providing relatively the same service. And so it really helps Serini Associates to stand out if someone is deciding between two accounting firms, and one is keeping all their profits and one is really invested in giving back to the local community. The customers may be more swayed to go with an organization that is going back. And it's shown to be really profitable for the company. The way that
It
it
could
came
be quantified, right, Amy? Because it could be quantified at the end of the year. They could say we donated
right
100,000 books. I mean, they can actually quantify it and market it, which is the genius of that piece of the puzzle.
Right. And they do a very good job of marketing. And they have a bookcase that shows how it's filling up. And for the nonprofit, it's worked for us because every month we get a check. We don't have to do anything. Well, let me rephrase that. The only things that we do is we keep an ongoing messaging over to Sereni Associates, where we send them letters from students. We send them thank you videos from teachers, because it has to benefit both sides. So Sereni and Associates want to push that message out. And so we provide them with all of those messagings of a cute picture of a kid holding a book or a handwritten letter. This all came about, I'll go find the book and I'll show it to everybody, but I had actually gone to a conference by a gentleman named John Wood, who does Room to Read. And this was his entire model, was basically breaking down the benefits of why has Tom's been so successful? Why has Bombas been so successful of the buy one, give one? And so he broke down the entire benefits and how to position it to a company. It really was luck, Tommy, because Ken was giving a presentation on this exact topic. I called him, said, have you read this book? I sent him the book. So I was just more blessed that he then reached back out to me and said he wanted to partner with Book Fairies. But I think it's a very viable model to go after companies as their way to stand out from their competitors of giving back to the community.
Thank you, Amy.
Book called, Amy?
The book?
Yeah, what is the name of the book?
I'm gonna get it. I have it over here.
You know, it's funny. Eileen called it out on a meeting she did with Ken last week. So Ken Sereni Associates, Long Island Imagine Awards, New York Imagine Awards, and he, you know, runs the practice. They had a meeting, him and Eileen Minogue, the current executive director of the Book Fairies, and she called that book out. So Amy, yeah, I'll put you back off spotlight so you can go find the book. And Christine, just a heads up, it's 9:43. Just want to make you aware of that. I'm sure you're watching. There was one last thing. Oh, you know, as a business person who is involved in the nonprofit sector, it's funny because Ken has become a friend of mine. And years ago, I remember saying across the room, but wait, Ken, it's not supposed to be quid pro quo, right? Like it's supposed to be, we as business people are just supposed to give to these organizations. He goes, no, Tommy. He goes, no, it's not supposed to be. Or it is supposed to be quid pro quo, you know. And I understand, you know, I think gone are the days of, you know, companies just writing a big check to see their name on a step and repeat, or, you know, on a swag bag or whatever it is. This is the future. Oh, there it is. Purpose Incorporated by John Wood. So Christine, back to you again.
I think I'm going to jump in. I think it always was the purpose, but I think, and that's why Ken Sereni, I think it might have been the dark secret, or people were offended by companies, because I've been doing it even for the corporate side for years, but they need to market it. They need to feel good about it. They need to, especially these days when they go, we gave away, you know, $250,000, you know, when the shareholders or whatever go, for what? They at least need to say, and we did this. Everybody wants to feel good about what they did. They need to market it, which is why if you can develop something for them, Book Fairies can do something else with another organization, but they can't do this program with another accounting firm. But you can create different things for different audiences and different companies. And those are the programs that grow. And those are the programs that they need to be able to justify their income too, and feel good about what they do. So they can tell their employees, people want to work for companies that do good corporate social responsibility, but it's not just writing checks. They want their employees to volunteer. They want to feel good about it. So the more you can hone in, whether it's community or mission or audience, the better you're going to do.
Absolutely. So I only have one last question for Sherry, and then we have about 9 minutes for other Q&A, which is great. Tommy and I always try to get you out by the 55. So for those of you with 10 o'clock meetings, at least you can go to the bathroom before you have to get back on another Zoom, we hope. So Sherry, I just want to ask you what your top three takeaways would be for the group. We covered a lot. There's a lot to think about when it comes to communication, but what would you say you want us to come away with this morning in terms of a top three?
I want you to remember how people are hearing it, okay? I want you to put yourself into the minds and ears and bodies of the people that are listening to your mission, listening to your pitch, listening to your sponsorship pitches. So make sure it's targeted for them and their audience, okay? You may need 3 or 4 different versions of it. Make it timely, make it tangible so they understand it. The more you can quantify it, the better. And make it realistic so that they understand whatever you're asking them to do will make a difference. It's not just going to be a drop in the bucket to combat world peace. They're really going to see a tangible difference. And then when you do it, go back and tell them what you did. Show them that they did something, it made a difference. They can see that, they'll feel good. They're more apt to, you can hit them up again.
There you go. Setting the stage to hit them up again.
Hit them up again. We like repeat business. So
we need resources to maximize our mission impact. That's the bottom line, right? Yeah. So let's see. Anybody questions for Sherry? Let's give Sherry a round of applause first before we don't have time. Our virtual round of applause. Thank you, Sherry. So who has a burning question that they've been thinking about? Because I don't see any in the chat. Do we have any hands? Oh,
let's go Robert, then Ian.
Okay. Sherry, better than even Tommy's email said you were.
Oh, thank you.
My question was whether it's for a nonprofit or any mission statement, is there I've heard a school of thought that there should be a correct number of bullet points. And then I've always heard whether it should be odd or even number of bullet points. And so is there?
No, there's no rules. I even teach it in college. There's no rules. But mission statements tend to be aspirational. Make sure you use words that people understand. Make sure you don't use industry jargon. Make sure if you read it to somebody who didn't know you, when they closed their eyes and you turned around, they would get it's you. Put your name in the mission statement. Make it real. As soon as you get to bullet points, my gut says it's too long. That could be your purpose statement. That could be something after your mission statement. Your mission statement should be a sentence or two so that everybody goes, I get it. That's what they do.
Thank you.
Sherry, I had one other quick point about what you just said there. You know, acronyms, I mean, like I find myself always like spelling out what everything means because it's such, you know, once people start getting lost in what we're saying, you know, then they're thinking about it, and then they're not paying attention to the next word and the next sentence and what the next idea is because they're stuck on what does PEO mean.
Mm-hmm. They probably don't know, you know, and it kills me that everybody goes out and does SAS, and if I don't know what that is, I'm not Googling to find out. You have just lost me.
Yeah. I
mean, I did acronyms the other day because I also teach college, and I said BLM, and everybody in class, I teach at City College, goes Black Lives Matter. I said, if you did BLM in Utah, nobody would know that. It would be Baker Lewis. And one kid actually said, he goes, I worked at a law firm, and that was their initials too that they use. So don't assume that people know that your acronym is what they think it is.
God, see, I thought SAS was what my 9-year-old gives us like first thing.
Exactly. And it's apparently some technology thing they keep trying to sell me, but if they haven't told me what it is, I'm not researching it.
It is software as a service, but but that's the point. Not everybody knows that. Yeah.
And let me just chime in and add that when you all are thinking about the type of board members you want to attract, right, regular business people typically, or people in other industries, right, not necessarily well-versed in what your organization does, throwing out acronyms or that jargon can exclude, it makes someone feel excluded. It makes someone feel like they don't belong or they don't know enough when they probably have plenty of skills that could be applied to your organization. But if the way that we speak about what we do makes someone feel that they aren't knowledgeable enough or in the loop, that's not a good look for anyone. And we do this unintentionally, right? We all have good intentions with our missions, but this all ties together with how we speak and how we communicate, right, Sherry?
Yeah, because we're all used to talking to our little circle, our bubble. So, you know, you talk to, especially nonprofit world, everyone knows the same thing. You talk to people in your office, everyone knows the same thing. You've got to talk to people who know nothing. And most people won't tell you they don't know. So if I imagine Christine in those situations, the board person you might be hitting goes, nah, it's just too complicated. I'm never going to admit I don't know. So they just walk away.
Right.
So I make your mission, I always say, for dummies. You know, make your message for dummies. Remember the 4 dummies thing? You have to assume that people don't know anything. It's as elementary as you can make it. Don't use the big words. We're not combating this. We do this.
We do this. I like that. On that note, Tommy, could it be possible that we wrap up our roundtable 3 minutes ahead of schedule?
It might have been, but I want Will to ask a question, so we don't want to eliminate that. And I want to mention who's coming up on this particular program next month. So Will, why don't you finish this off?
So thank you so much, Sherry, for that presentation, and thank you guys for having me. This was awesome experience, and I'm very excited for the next one and to keep being a part of these, even down here in Tampa. I have a quick question. So today I'm in an entrepreneurship incubator program down here, and we're pitching to the advisory board of the Entrepreneurship Center to get members on our team, but we only get a minute pitch. So I want to know what would be the best things that I should focus on in my 60 seconds.
Oof. Who are you pitching to?
So I'm in the University of Tampa incubator program here in the Entrepreneurship Center, and they have an advisory board for the center. And what they do is they pick 2 to 3 people for each of the companies to be their advisors. So I'm pitching to them to just explain who we are and to who's most attracted to the board. So I only get 60 seconds though.
You need to tell them what you do, how viable you are, and what you think you're going to achieve. And you got 60 seconds. Okay, so not aspirational. Here's where we are. Here's our structure. Here's what we're going to accomplish in the next year. We could really use your help. Always ask. Always close the deal. Always ask.
Great
Good
stuff.
luck, Bill.
Yeah.
How it goes.
Thank you. Well, definitely will do.
Yeah, let me know.
Going into the Shark Tank.
Yeah, literally.
That call to action, as you said, Sherry, certainly key, right? Give them direction. Let them know what you need, what you want.
If you don't ask them, you're assuming that they know what you want. You must be direct, and that's in everything that we all do.
No doubt. I'm going to share a screen real quick, and then we are going to part ways. So let me just find out which one the screens. Can you see my screen right now? Just someone say yes, because I can't see you all. So this is a new friend of mine. Last couple months, Betty Monroe runs an organization called Connective Engagement. As we realize, the future is us being on these screens. Betty is an actress, a consultant, and she teaches and trains and consults with us all, with people, how to put our best face, our best background, our best connections forward through this medium that we're on right now, which is this Zoom and others. So I'm going to stop screen share, but Betty will be with us speaking on the 4th Thursday of the month of October, which I'm slow speaking because I'm going to tell you what it is in a second. The 27th. The 27th. We will be back here October 27th, 8:15 to again 9:55. So you can, again, these are Eastern times. If you're not in the Eastern time zone, then apply your time zone to that. We'll follow up with you. What I'd ask and encourage is everyone, look, if you didn't get somebody's contact information here during this meeting, reach out to Christine and I, and we can do that for you. We will make sure you get those connections you need. There's my, oh, I just sent that to Ian. Ian, if you needed my email, you got it. Let's copy and let's get it to everyone. Send us a note if we can help out. There'll be a follow-up email that'll go out. And if you if you need to connect with anybody, let us know. That's it. Christine, where do you want to leave us? Is that it?
That's it. Thank you so much, everyone, for spending your morning with us. And we hope to see you next month. Thank you, Sherry, for this.
Thank you for having me. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Good
everybody.
skill, Will.
Thank you.
Good skill, Will. I don't say good luck. Good skill. See you guys.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, Robert. Thanks for being here.